Sometimes we wait and wait for peace, for joy, for healing, and don't even realize that all of it is already flowing through us. It's in the quiet moments. It's in the stillness of the heart. And if we just pause long enough, we can feel love, pure, overflowing love right there. One of the people who deeply understood this was Rabindranath Tagore, a legendary poet from India. He wasn't just a writer, he was a visionary, a spiritual teacher in his own right. His words didn't just paint beautiful pictures, they awakened something in the human soul. Tagore was the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize in Literature, and honestly, I've always felt a deep connection to his work. His poetry speaks to me on a very personal level, and I'd say his writing style has quietly but powerfully shaped the way I express myself too. There's one poem of his that I keep coming back to, one he wrote during the later years of his life, after he'd stepped back from public life to live in the countryside. It's titled, "Spent the Years Wandering," and in it there's a line that always hits home. "I've traveled far and wide, seen soaring mountains and vast seas, yet somehow I failed to notice the dew glistening on the corn leaf right outside my door." Can you imagine? A man who had devoted his life to humanity, who'd lived fully and given so much, finally slowed down enough in his old age to realize that the most magical moments were waiting quietly at his doorstep all along. He'd done it all, served his people, spoken to the world through his words, but now he just wanted to be, to stop grasping, stop chasing, to no longer fight against or reject anything. He let himself become light, unburdened, peaceful. And it was in that stillness he really saw. He saw life's beauty in its simplest form. Every morning he opened his heart wide, ready to receive the day like a gift. And in that openness he discovered a different layer of life, something deeper, more profound. Even a tiny dewdrop on a leaf seemed miraculous. Everything suddenly was glowing with meaning. The truth is, life has always been like that, full of wonder, full of grace. It's just that our minds are often too busy, too wounded, too overwhelmed to notice. We're stuck in patterns, chasing happiness through achievement, control, or validation. We're constantly trying to become, but not often just allowing ourselves to be. We've been conditioned to believe happiness is found in conquering things, getting somewhere, proving something. But there's a richer, quieter kind of happiness, one that lives deep inside moments of clarity, moments when we stop trying to change the world and simply let ourselves be changed by it. You see, as many scientists have said, the world we perceive is a reflection of the consciousness we bring to it. What we see is filtered through the lens of our current awareness. So maybe instead of bending the world to fit our narrow minds, we need to widen our minds, heal our hearts so that we can finally meet the world as it truly is. Instead of always seeking to control, to reshape reality, why not shift our inner reality first? Why not make our minds a place of peace, a place of resilience and clarity, a place where beauty is always visible? That's where the real magic lies. Even when the world seems to be collapsing, like during a global pandemic or a personal loss, that outer chaos is only part of the story. Everything changes, everything eventually passes. But there's a space inside you that doesn't have to be swept away with the storm. It's in that space where you can find stillness, depth, strength, and even more. When you begin to heal inside, when you make space for clarity, you start to see again. The way a child sees. You see the miracle in a tree, in a stranger's smile, in your own breath. The chaos of the world will always be there. But what if we stopped letting it define us? Because let's be honest, this idea that we can return to normal after a pandemic or crisis is misleading. What even was normal? Stress, burnout, shallow joy? We weren't exactly thriving before the chaos hit. Maybe the deeper invitation here is this. Instead of waiting for the world to change, we change ourselves. We take this moment to slow down and turn inward, to tend to the garden of our own spirit, to pull out the weeds of fear and frustration. and to grow something beautiful in their place. Because here's a hard truth. We didn't end up in this mess just because of a virus. It's bigger than that. Our lifestyle, driven by ignorance, greed, and disconnection, has weakened both our environment and our immune systems. Glaciers melting, ancient microbes waking up, immune systems failing, it's all interconnected. And unless we address the root causes, our disconnection from nature, from each other, and from ourselves, we'll keep facing crisis after crisis. That's why now, more than ever, we need to build not just physical immunity, but spiritual immunity too. And yes, this is possible. From a mind that's constantly overwhelmed, anxious, and wounded, we can shift into a state of peace, wholeness, health. We can learn to return to ourselves. Google even once promoted the idea of satisfy all searches by going within. Don't just search online, search your soul. Because if your focus is always outside, on news, on noise, on what everyone else is doing, you'll be at the mercy of everything that changes. But when you root into yourself, you stop being a victim of life's chaos. You become a calm presence, even in the middle of the storm. Now let's be clear, this doesn't mean denying the real needs of life. We still need food, safety, love, belonging. We still want to be seen, to succeed. But we need something more, something that gives meaning to all the rest. And that's depth, that's connection, that's presence. Because a meaningful life doesn't require you to have everything. It just asks you to show up fully for what you do have. Even in this moment, maybe you don't have the wealth or status you once did. Maybe the world isn't what it used to be. But that doesn't mean you can't live well. In fact, this might be, let's be real, before the pandemic, how many of us were actually thriving? How many of us were truly happy, rested, and fulfilled? Weren't we already stressed, burned out, constantly hustling to chase something we couldn't even name? The truth is, life wasn't a paradise before everything went sideways. So maybe, just maybe, this global shakeup is more of a wake-up call than a curse. And yes, it's taken away a lot. Opportunities, stability, certainty. But if it's taken away our ability to constantly grasp at the outside world, then maybe it's also given us something in return. The chance to come back home to ourselves. This could be the perfect moment to pause, to gift ourselves a period of deep, intentional living, not rushing to chase, prove, or fix, but simply being. Living each day in a way that nourishes the soul, letting go of what we can't control, not resisting what isn't harmful, making space inside for peace to bloom. And when we do that, when we truly come back to ourselves, something incredible happens. We begin to heal, we begin to see, we begin to awaken to the quiet magic that's always been here. Through practices like mindfulness, stillness, or meditation, whatever method works for you, we create the conditions for our inner world to soften, to stabilize, and eventually to glow. And from that place of calm awareness, we start to realize something powerful. The miracle isn't some far-off event we're waiting for. It's not a prize at the end of the struggle. It's already here, in every breath, in every ordinary quiet moment, in the sound of birds outside your window, in the taste of your morning coffee, in the laughter of someone you love walking through the kitchen. This is what a miraculous consciousness really means. It's when the mind itself becomes so clear, so open, so present, that even the smallest things feel extraordinary. Because when your mind is grounded in peace, the whole world seems to soften. That's not just poetic, it's neuroscience, it's spirituality, it's reality. Even if the world is chaotic, if your mind is calm, then you carry peace into every situation. And we need that now more than ever. Because let's be honest, this pandemic may not be the last one. Scientists are already warning us. More viruses may come, some even more dangerous than COVID-19. So the question isn't just, will there be another outbreak? The real question is, when will it arrive? It's a matter of time. These aren't random accidents. The root causes are clear. The earth is heating up, glaciers are melting, Microbes buried in ice for thousands of years are reawakening. And our immune systems, weaker than ever, because our environments are polluted, our diets are poor, and our lives are overloaded with stress and disconnection. So yes, science and medicine matter. But what matters more, what matters first is awareness, consciousness, the ability to pause and reflect, the willingness to live differently. It starts within. We need a transformation not just of systems, but of souls. Because if our minds are constantly reactive, filled with fear, attachment, craving, we'll never feel safe, no matter what's happening outside. But if our hearts are calm and whole, we can walk through fire without being consumed. From a heart that's anxious, chaotic, scattered, we can absolutely return to something peaceful, steady, grounded. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need a 10-day retreat in the mountains to begin. You just need to stop for a moment, breathe, turn inward, listen. Ask yourself, what is truly important? What am I chasing and why? What am I running from? Even tech giants like Google have recognized this. One of their internal campaigns once urged employees to satisfy all searches by going within. That's powerful. Go inside. Don't just search on Google, search your soul. Because here's the truth, if we're always looking outward for answers, always relying on the next big trend, the next relationship, the next achievement, we'll always be at the mercy of things we can't control. And when life inevitably shifts, as it always does, we'll be left shaken, exhausted, lost. But when we build strength from the inside out, when we learn to find peace in this moment, just as it is, nothing can take that away. Not a virus, not a crisis, not even loss. It doesn't mean we stop caring about the world. It doesn't mean we give up on progress or passion or people. But it does mean we stop being owned by the chaos around us. We still care, but from a grounded place. We still strive, but from a place of presence. Because even if the world around us is still messy, unstable, unpredictable, we don't have to be. Sure, we may still have responsibilities. We may still need to hustle, to survive, to support our families. But if we've built even a small garden of peace within ourselves, then everything else becomes more manageable. Life becomes less of a fight and more of a flow. And let's not forget, we were already struggling before all this. So if the world strips away our usual comforts, our income, our routine, our plans, it might just be making space for something better, something deeper. This is your chance. This is your moment to stop running, to stop reacting, to stop postponing your peace. This is your invitation to begin truly living. Not tomorrow, not when everything calms down, not when the pandemic ends, but now, here, in this breath, in this body, in this moment. Ask yourself, what's the point of returning to normal if normal was already unfulfilling? Why not create something better? Why not use this pause to build something real? You don't need much. You just need presence. You just need to be here, really here, for a few moments each day. To taste your tea, to feel your breath, to hear your heartbeat, to notice a bird, a flower, a smile. That's not being lazy, that's being alive. And the more often you do it, the stronger your spiritual immune system becomes. The more resilient your heart becomes. The more available you become to yourself, to your loved ones, to the beauty of life. So even if the world is still uncertain, you don't have to be afraid. Even if the storm hasn't passed, you can be the eye of it. Calm, clear, awake. When your inner world is solid, the outer world doesn't shake you so easily. When you've touched that quiet center inside, the part of you that's always steady, always kind, always present, then you've found something priceless, something no pandemic can touch, no economy can buy, no crisis can destroy. That is your miracle. And from there you can live, not just survive, but truly live. So here's a question. If we've already tasted that kind of clarity, even for a moment, why not protect it? Why not let it grow? Because when your soul becomes whole again, when your mind stops spinning and just rests, something shifts. The way you see the world changes. Even something as simple as a cup of coffee in the morning, a ray of sunlight on your floor, or the sound of leaves rustling outside becomes enough. That's not settling. That's waking up. You start to notice the beauty that was always there, patiently waiting for you to slow down long enough to see it. The Buddha said it best: all things are created by the mind. The way we think, the way we perceive, that's what shapes the world we live in. So if our minds are chaotic, distracted, full of fear or ego, then the world will always feel hostile. But if our minds become still, clear, and grounded in kindness, then the world, even in its messiness, starts to feel miraculous. That's not just spiritual poetry. That's a fundamental shift in awareness. We don't have to wait until we're old or sick or at the edge of death to suddenly start craving life. We don't need to wait until we've lost everything to finally appreciate what we have. Right now, today, we can choose to start living differently. We can begin to cultivate what really matters: presence, peace, clarity, compassion. Because those are the things that create a life worth living. And we can prepare right now, not just our bodies but our hearts. Build a strong immune system for the spirit, so that no matter what storms come, no matter how many variants or viruses arise, we can walk forward with courage, grace, and understanding. Let's be honest, the next few years may not be easy. The road ahead might still hold more uncertainty, more change. But we don't have to be afraid of that if we've trained our minds to be strong and our hearts to be soft. In fact, we might even grow through it all. Because times of hardship, when met with awareness, often become times of tremendous growth. The people who change the world, the true heroes, the ones we remember, are not those who had it easy. They're the ones who rose through struggle, who found their strength because of adversity. And what allowed them to rise wasn't just external resources, it was inner resilience, a strong, steady spirit. You can cultivate that too. You don't need to retreat from the world to do it. You don't need to become a monk or live in a forest. You just need to create a little time each day to go inward, to reconnect with your breath, to ask your heart how it's doing, to remember what really matters. Because if we keep telling ourselves, once this is over, then I'll start living again, we'll wait forever. There is no perfect moment to begin. Life is never going to stop being complicated. So why not choose now? Why not take this moment as your invitation? You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to take the next mindful step. Let your journey back to yourself begin now, with presence, with simplicity, with kindness. Because if you can learn to find peace here, in the mess, in the waiting, in the uncertainty, then you found something that no one can take from you. That's real strength. That's real freedom. Even if the world outside is unstable, even if your circumstances don't magically improve, your inner world can be a sanctuary. You can begin to live more deeply, more intentionally. You can wake up each morning and notice, yes, the world is still hard, but I am still here. I am still breathing. I still have today. And that's no small thing. That's everything. So maybe now is the time, not to go back to how things were, but to step into something better. Something more honest, more grounded, more human. Let this be the season where you simplify, where you soften, where you remember the sweetness of life's small moments. You don't need to keep chasing. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to be, fully, tenderly, wholeheartedly. Let yourself slow down. Let yourself feel. Let yourself rest. Let yourself come home. Because when you do, when your consciousness becomes clear, something beautiful begins to happen. The world outside, even with all its chaos and noise, begins to look different. You see the sky, and it feels bluer. You hear the wind, and it sounds like a song. You sip your tea, and it tastes like a miracle. Even the people around you, your loved ones, your community, begin to feel more connected to you because you have reconnected with yourself. And the more grounded you become, the more you start to live from a place of enoughness, not needing more to feel whole, not waiting for something better to feel peace. And in that mindset, you start to build a different kind of life, a deeper one, a richer one, a more awake one. Sure, you'll still have goals, you'll still move toward the things you care about, but now you'll do it with mindfulness, with presence, with joy in the journey, not just the destination. Because if you've ever told yourself, "I'll be happy when I get there," then you know how quickly that happiness fades once you do arrive. You reach one goal, and then what? You set another, and in the meantime, you've forgotten to live. But what if happiness isn't at the end of the path? What if happiness is the path? As someone once said, there's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. So start walking, gently, mindfully, awake to every step. You don't need to wait for life to slow down. You can slow down. You don't need to wait for all your problems to go away. You can face them with courage from a centered place. And even if the world never quite returns to normal, that's okay. Because normal wasn't the goal. Awakening was. So let this be your awakening. Let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment when everything begins again. Not outside, but inside. Because when your mind becomes calm, when your heart becomes full, when your spirit feels light, even the smallest, quietest things become holy. And you begin to understand the real miracle has been here all along, inside you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being willing to wake up. Now go and live fully. Right here, right now. You're ready.